someone just stole a very expensive vehicle.
Shoot up, we don't have a lot of time.
It's a next-gen prototype with all the bells and whistles. If bells and whistles could explode and murder people, stop this maniac.
Flash. All new episodes return Tuesday, January 15th on the CW.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. Happy New Year. Surprise, surprise, we got another brand new Flash trailer right after I did a Reverse Flash trailer. This is another one for episode 10, even though you don't see Reverse Flash in here anywhere. There's still a lot of that going on during the episode, so I'll explain. And we got to talk about a new Nora WTF theory about her endgame in this whole Crisis on Infinite Earths plan that she and the Reverse Flash are trying to pull off. There's a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Flash moment on the video. We'll break down the new footage first. There's a couple Easter eggs in here, then I'll talk about the Nora theory. First big thing you'll notice, Weather Bitch is back. She's got her weather control rod hanging off of her back. The reason why they put this shot in here is so that you would immediately identify her, even if you don't quite remember that episode, because she was wearing a different costume. Now they got like the full thickness going on with their leather jackets, and they've gone full Fast and Furious. So the title of the episode, as you can imagine, is The Flash and Furious. It's a very obvious reference to all the car stuff that they have going on during the episode in present day, but it's also a reference to what's going on with Nora in the future with the Reverse Flash. As you can imagine, based on the footage from the last trailer, it's Reverse Flash who's the furious one in that two-person equation. I don't know who this other new character is that seems to be leading the car heist at Argus, but they've just created a James Bond Knight Rider amalgam car that they want to steal. I'm assuming the only reason that Argus would build themselves a James Bond car is because Diggle really wanted one, and Lila just happened to approve it on their budget seat, or if it's some sort of meta tech that they're just experimenting with so that it will help them take down other metas. Like, remember, the big thing this season that creates the new metas is the meta tech. That's where Weather Witch gets her powers from. She doesn't naturally have the ability to control the elements in the way that her father, Weather Wizard, does. But even though most of this footage focuses on Nora seeming like she's trying to take them down by herself, like she easily dodges the rocket that comes out of the grill, but usually what happens is that Nora gets some sort of G.I. Joe style lesson like knowing is half the battle. So the typical rhythm of an episode is that she derps trying to do something by herself or just rushes in too quickly, she learns a lesson, then she somehow solves the problem by the end of the episode. So even though the car by itself doesn't seem like a huge threat to her, I'm assuming that the car, in conjunction with the abilities that Weather Witch has, is just too much for her to handle by herself. You do see Barry in costume with Killer Frost behind him, so they're obviously a big part of the episode too, but because of all the Nora, Hannibal Lecter, Reverse Flash, Silence of the Lambs stuff happening in the future, it just feels like more of the plot the back half of the season is going to be turning around what she's doing until Barry eventually finds out what she's doing. Like, eventually he has to learn that the Reverse Flash is helping Nora. She's doing it for good reason, trying to save her father from dying during Crisis on Infinite Earths, but he's still probably going to crap his Flash pants something fierce when he finds out. But for the most part, it just seems like there's some sort of mini rogue team-up that's happening in this episode. The producers said at Comic-Con they were introducing younger versions of the rogues. Weather Witch is a really good example of that. I couldn't find any IMDb entries for this actress here, so I don't know if she's playing a comic book character, so I don't want to speculate too much about what she's going to be doing in the future of the show, or if she's just a one-off character that you only see in this episode. But it seems like they're spending a whole lot of time developing the Weather Witch character, so whatever happens with this girl, it does seem like Weather Witch will continue to be a big force on the show. As far as we know, though, I think the more interesting thing going on during the episode is in learning more about what's going on between Nora and Reverse Flash. I think they're just trying to avoid putting as much of that in the trailers as possible so they don't give it away ahead of time. But the big mystery with those two characters isn't so much the why of it all. Like, we know why Nora is working with Reverse Flash. She wants to save her father from dying during Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's the what and the how. Like, how are they going to do that without completely messing up the timeline? And how is Reverse Flash going to get himself out of this pickle? Like, the whole idea of legacy I talked about in my last Reverse Flash trailer video, there was a big interview that Tom Cavanaugh, the producers, did talking just about Eobard Thawne. So there's this whole question of whether or not he's trying to turn good, even though we know from Nora's newspaper he winds up being pretty evil during Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's just this really cool cat and mouse game that they'll be playing this season that I think will probably be one of the more interesting arcs that they've ever done on the TV show. Talking about the new Nora WTF theory, remember during the 100th episode where they go back and they're talking to Eobard Thawne and he starts questioning them about who this mystery girl is that he brought with him.
Who's your friend?
Let me guess. Jesse Chambers. No? Libby Lawrence. Wait, Danica Williams.
It doesn't matter who she is.
is your daughter. You've brought me your daughter. It's, Dawn, if I'm not mistaken.
Nora.
Nora. That's nice. At least you still have one.
The really important thing about that scene is that it foreshadows Nora's endgame because of when it happens and the version of Eobard Thawne, Harrison Wells, that they're talking to. It's very critical that it be happening in this moment with this version of that character. So why is that important? Well, that's because this version of Reverse Flash has knowledge of the original untainted timeline before he came back, killed Barry's mother, creating an alternate timeline where Barry became the Flash much quicker because Reverse Flash wanted to get home quicker, so he just sped everything up. But that also causes ripple effects, so it changed the timeline in different ways down the road. So this whole season has been all about Nora making mistakes, altering the timeline because of what Eobard Thawne told her to do. So Reverse Flash is the one that told her to come back and punch that satellite, which created the new version of Cicada and set them off on the path this season. So there's more butterfly effects, the future's more worse than ever. So when Reverse Flash here thinks that she's Dawn Allen, one half of the Tornado Twins, and is bemused by the fact that her name is different, it's almost as if he instantly recognizes what's about to happen in his own future, because none of this stuff has happened for him yet. This is way earlier in the timeline, but it almost seems like in this moment here where he acknowledges Nora, like, Nora, I'll be seeing you again, as if he has already hatched a plan to get back at Barry in some way in the future. So there's a whole lot to unpack there. One, the idea that he knows that Nora might be something that he can exploit in the future, but also that Nora is not supposed to exist in the original timeline. Nora isn't supposed to be Nora, she's supposed to be Dawn. So here's the big thing too, like, Nora seems like a good character, everybody's kind of grown to love her, like Team Flash has grown to love her, they've gotten close to her as parents, but she's still technically not the right version of Barry's daughter. So here's what they do with TV shows like this, big dramas, is they get you to care about a character, then they try to yank the rug right out from under you. Like, you care about Nora, she grows as a Flash in her own right, learns all these lessons from her father Barry, and you think that she's going to go back to the future and be this awesome version of the Flash in her future timeline. But remember that conversation that Oliver Queen had with the Monitor about balance in the universe, and Oliver Queen potentially sacrificing his own life so that Barry could live. The ultimate payoff for Nora is that she cares about her father so much, she becomes a hero and is willing to give her own life to save him. So remember way back at the beginning of season 4, all the gibberish that Barry was speaking when he said, we're going to need more diapers? They still haven't completely paid off all of those Speed Force symbols and the gibberish that he spoke. We just found out what the Speed Force symbols are all about. It's a time language. But when he says, we're going to need more diapers, it seems like what the payoff is going to be for her by the end of the season, if you want to be a little more hopeful about it, and I do think the show is trying for a hopeful ending, is that they change things. Nora does try to sacrifice herself, but Back to the Future style, like, remember all the Back to the Future Easter eggs during the first episode, Nora, Marty McFly. What ended up happening at the end of Back to the Future? Marty changes the timeline for the better, and his family winds up being even better than it was off before. So the ultimate payoff for Nora is that she makes that ultimate sacrifice, and Nora also gains a brother in the process, so we get to our version of the Tornado Twins on the TV show. So let me know in the comments, Nora, forced to make the ultimate sacrifice, how do they pay off, we're gonna need more diapers, and save Barry from Crisis on Infinite Earths at the same time? So don't be surprised if Nora feels a little bit selfish right now and slowly becomes more selfless, then eventually is willing to sacrifice herself, but, winds up in a much more happy payoff than you would expect. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on this week. Young Justice is starting this Friday, so I've already posted a non-spoilery review and the first big scene from the season. So click here to watch that, and then click here to rewatch that Reverse Flash trailer video that I posted yesterday. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.